Hi everybody, welcome to lesson number 58. So this is the second of our grammar-based lessons looking at relative clauses. If you remember and you're watching the lessons in sequence, the first one was lesson number 56, which I do recommend you watch first. Anyway, this is lesson 58. My name's Stephanie and this is level B2, which is upper intermediate. Let's have a look at what we're going to cover today. So in lesson 58, you will understand and practice defining relative clauses and understand and practice non-defining relative clauses. As always, don't worry if you don't understand the terms. We'll have a look at them and then I'm sure you will see what I mean. There'll be lots of opportunity to practice, and at the end of this lesson there is a mini test if you want to do some more. Okay, so let's get started and let's think about what these two different types of relative clauses are. So as I said, there are two types of relative clause. And these are called defining, which give vital information to the meaning of the sentence, and non-defining. Now, these will add extra information to the sentence that isn't integral to the sentence construction as a whole. So in defining relative clauses, the clause tells you exactly which person or thing is being talked about. When the relative pronoun is the subject of the clause, you must use who, that, or which. Here's an example. My colleagues are people who always support me. So here we're talking about colleagues. So the pronoun who refers to the subject and therefore it must be used. You'll see what I mean with this example, because when the relative pronoun is the object, then you can omit who, that, or which. I've got a job I love. I've got a job that I love, I've got a job which I love. These are okay, but you don't need to say that or which, because the relative pronoun is the object, not the subject of the sentence. So that's why, if you were wondering why sometimes you see a sentence and the relative pronoun is omitted, it's because it's not the subject of that sentence. Okay. One point to note is that even if it's the object, you can never leave out whose. So you remember in lesson 56 we talked about whose. This can never be omitted. Okay. Non-defining relative clauses. The clause gives extra, non-essential information about the person or thing talked about. A non-defining relative clause begins with a relative pronoun and must be separated with commas. My sister, who is a graphic designer, lives in Oxford. So my sister lives in Oxford is a perfectly valid sentence. Who is a graphic designer is giving us extra information about the sister. We stayed at a local hotel. Again, a perfectly valid sentence. The extra information, which had been highly recommended. So with non-defining relative clauses, the only thing to remember really is that if you're writing, they need to be separated with commas. If you're speaking, you would naturally give a slight pause. My sister, who lives in Oxford, is a graphic designer, because you're adding extra information to the sentence. Okay, I think we ought to practice a little bit. Let's have a look at some examples here. So let's look at sentence number 1. He married Anna, who I can't stand. Remember, if you can't stand someone, what does it mean? It means you really don't like them, or it. I can't stand smoking means I really don't like smoking. So sentence number 1, he married Anna, the extra information, who I can't stand. So this is a non-defining clause. He married Anna, which I can't stand. Again, a non-defining relative clause. The part in green is just adding extra information. But notice the 2 different pronouns used, who and which. So what do you think would be the correct follow-up to each sentence? I'm going to give you 2 examples. Now I never see him, or she is so bossy. So pause the slide a moment, reread sentences 1 and 2 and see if you can match with A and B. Okay, what do you think? Well, let's have a look together. So the answers are 1 is matched with B and 2 is matched with A. He married Anna, who I can't stand. She is so bossy. He married Anna, which I can't stand. Now I never see him. Here, if you look at the pronoun who in sentence 1, we're talking about the person, Anna. So the answer is B, she is so bossy. In number 2, which is talking about the situation as a whole. Now I never see him, again referring to the situation. Well done if you got those correct. Let's try another example. Okay, so this time I'm going to give you 6 sentences and I'm asking you to add in some extra information. Number 1, the Nile is a river. Number 2, the pyramids are in Egypt. Number 3, Google is a search engine. Number 4, Obama was the President of the United States of America. Number 5, penguins cannot fly. And number 6, Bill Gates is worth $91.10 billion. So as with the previous slide, when you're adding your extra information, think about what you are talking about. Is it a situation? Is it a person? Is it an object? And that will guide you as to which pronoun to use. So the Nile, extra information, is a river. Pause the slide and see if you can give me some extra information about these 6 topics. Okay, well, let's have a look at my ideas. So number 1, the Nile, which is found in Africa, is a river. Number 2, the pyramids, which were built as tombs, are in Egypt. Number 3, Google, which was founded by Sergey Brin and Larry Page, is a search engine. Number 4, Obama, who was born in Hawaii, was the President of the United States of America. Number 5, penguins, which are found in Antarctica, cannot fly. And number 6, Bill Gates, who founded Microsoft, is worth $91.10 billion. Wow. So obviously you'll have some different answers here, but the important thing is that you're using commas because you're writing and it's a non-defining clause, but also that you're using the correct relative pronoun. So the Nile, which is an object, but Obama, who, because it's a person. Number 5, penguins, yes, they're animals, but we still refer to them as objects if you're choosing a pronoun. So penguins, which are found in Antarctica. So really well done if you correctly got those pronouns right, and hopefully you added in some interesting extra information. Okay, let's have a look at the next slide. This time I'm going to give you some extra information, and I'm asking you to make a non-defining relative clause. So you've got two shorter sentences, but I want you to join them, to combine them with a pronoun to make a non-defining relative clause. And again, this is the reason why we're looking at this level, because when you're at upper intermediate level, you need to be adding extra information. You need to be talking in longer sentences, not short sentences. It doesn't sound very natural. Well, let's have a look at the example together. So the students are very noisy. They live next door. So I've made a non-defining relative clause. The students who live next door are very noisy. Okay, so you've got 5 sentences here. The restaurant was excellent. I can't remember the name. Nick travels a lot. He is head of sales. I went to the optician. He told me I need glasses. I often run in the park. It is close to my house. Kent is known as the Garden of England. My parents live there. So 5 sentences that are 2 short sentences in each one, and I need you to combine them to make non-defining relative clauses. So you're going to need to pause the slide here for a moment, and then we'll check our answers together. Okay, are you ready to check? Well, let's have a look together. The restaurant, whose name I can't remember, is excellent. Nick, who is head of sales, travels a lot. I went to the optician, who told me I need glasses. I often run in the park, which is close to my house. Kent, where my parents live, is known as the Garden of England. So these are the correct answers, whereas the other one, obviously, you could add extra information with your own ideas. Because I gave you the sentences, these are the answers that you need to have. Again, the important thing is that you're choosing the right pronoun. And I hope for number 1, you all put whose. Okay, how are we doing? Well, let's have another practice. Again, the more we practice and the different activities we practice with will help you to retain the information. So this time I've got 5 sentences and jumbled up words. So the words that make the sentence are all in the wrong order. So what I'm asking you to do is to rearrange the words to make defining relative clauses. But be careful, because in each sentence I have included an extra word that you do not need. So number 1, I'm talking about a job. With that it satisfied are you. Obviously, this doesn't make any sense. You need to rearrange the words. Number 2, a home. In their comfortable you that are. Number 3, a government. Believe that them you in. Number 4, a car. It that down never breaks. And number 5, a boss. Get him or her with who you on. So what you need to do here is to pause the slide and have a think. Try to rearrange the words, and in each sentence you need to eliminate one of the words that is not needed. Okay, let's check our answers then. So the first one, a job that you are satisfied with, a home that you are comfortable in, a government that you believe in, a car that never breaks down, and a boss who you get on with. Now, hopefully these are all things that we have in our lives. A job that you are satisfied with, a home that you're comfortable in, a government you believe in, a car that never breaks down, and a boss who you get on with. So all important things, and hopefully you correctly identified which words needed to be eliminated there. Okay, our next exercise, we're going to have a look at some sentences, and all I'm asking you to do is to tell me whether they are correct or incorrect. Number 1. My boss is the kind of person which has an open door policy. What do you think? Is this correct or incorrect? And if it's incorrect, see if you can tell me why. Well, hopefully you're shouting out at your laptop, you're saying incorrect, and it is incorrect because it should be who. My boss, who? It's a person. Number 2, do you know the person to who wrote this report? Correct or incorrect? Do you know the person to who wrote this report? Incorrect. We don't need to. Do you know the person who wrote this report? So you need to eliminate number 2. The word to there. What about number 3? The town in where I live is very safe. Is this correct or incorrect? What do you think? Incorrect. Again, we need to eliminate a word, and this time it's in. The town where I live is very safe. Number 4. What is the name of the dog? It barks loudly at night time. Same question. Is this correct or incorrect? What is the name of the dog? It barks loudly at night time. Again, hopefully you're calling out the answer is incorrect. It should be that. What is the name of the dog that barks loudly at night time, or which? And the last one, number 5. The tree it grows in the garden is beautiful. What do you think? Correct or incorrect? Well, you've probably noticed a pattern. The other 4 were incorrect, and this one is also incorrect. The tree that, or the tree which, grows in the garden is beautiful. Well done if you got all 5 right there. So to finish with, I'm going to ask, what about you? We've talked a lot about defining, non-defining relative clauses. We've practiced using relative pronouns. But now I'd like to find out, what about you? So see if you can complete the sentences with your answers. I'd like to have a job which... My favourite time of day is when... I believe it's important to eat food that... It's important to vote for someone who... I enjoy travelling to places where... I have a friend whose... Now, be careful with this one. Remember, when we're using whose, you're talking about ownership, possession. Number 7. I like to think I'm the kind of person who... And my proudest achievement was when... So try to make these sentences true about you. pause the slide and write down your answers. Okay, if you'd like to send them in to me, you are very, very welcome. I'd be very happy to read your answers. Email them through to Perfectly Spoken, and if you put Level B2 Lesson 58, they will come through to me. I've put some possible answers just so you could see how the sentences could be constructed. I'd like to have a job which gives me a work-life balance. My favourite time of day is when I first wake up. I believe it's important to eat food that is balanced and healthy. It's important to vote for someone who you believe will make a difference. I enjoy travelling to places where I can get a taste of local life. I have a friend whose father is a policeman. I like to think I'm the kind of person who thinks of others. And my proudest achievement was when I graduated from university. So that brings us to the end of Lesson 58. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you found it useful. Lesson number 59 is a vocabulary lesson, really interesting topic, something we can all relate to and talk about. It's advertising. So whether you turn on your computer, turn on the TV, open a magazine, walk down the street, advertising is everywhere. So lots of interesting discussion points that we will talk about, and vocabulary as well. So I hope to see you next time for lesson number 59. Thank you.